What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and today we've got another Revit gameplay video. So the idea behind these Revit gameplays tutorials is I take a famous structure and then I show you how I would approach modeling something like that in Revit. And today I have my favorite bridge, and that's the Calatrava bridge, and I'm going to be showing you how to model this amazing futuristic structure in Revit. Now, before I jump into that tutorial, I would just like to ask you to make sure to like this tutorial. It helps me out a lot with YouTube algorithm. Also, make sure to subscribe. I make useful Revit tutorials each week. Also, if you're interested in some courses, some courses that are a few hours long, where I take my time to go in depth into some of the more complex Revit topics, or just a complete beginner to intermediate course in Revit, well, check out my website, balkanarchitect.com. The link is in the description. Also, if you're interested in my Revit project files, check out my Patreon. That's going to be the second link in the description. There you can find all of my advanced courses, as well as all of my Revit project files. I've got over 400 files so far up there. Okay, so without any further ado, let's jump straight into the tutorial. Okay, so here we are in Revit. Now, we have a couple of options when it comes to choosing how we're going to be modeling this. So the first option is to model it as a model, and then to either model in place or use the model in place option to build this as an in-place family, or you can use an in-place mass to build it as, as an in-place mass. Now, I prefer to model it as a whole separate family that can be then loaded into a project. And there is just one simple reason, and that is, if I just open the image, here's the bridge, you're going to notice that this bridge has the option to kind of swivel around or move around or rotate to let the ships pass there. So that's the idea behind the bridge. So I want to have that ability to have the center of the family and to make it a bit easier to rotate. You will see over here we have this base of the bridge, and that's where it actually pivots or rotates around in order to let the passing ships go by. So we're going to be modeling it here inside of Revit as a family. So I'm just going to go here to families, go to new, and then for the family template you can go with, whatever you want, whatever you think is the best option. I personally think that the generic model will do the job just right. So I'm just going to open that up, and here we are in our family editor. So the first thing that I'm going to be doing here is just sketching out the bridge. Now, the bridge is 123 meters long. I'm going to make it a bit shorter. Let's make it around 100 meters. And also, I want the center to be that pivot point. So this point over here, I want that to be the center of our family, the placement point. So what I'm going to be doing first is changing the units to just to accommodate the larger size. So I'm just going to change them to meters. So I'm going to go here to the Manage tab, go to Project Units, and just change them from millimeters into meters, and maybe add a couple of decimal places, and that's okay. Click OK again, and there we go. Okay, so now I want to sketch this out. Now for that you can use, whatever you want. You can use model lines, you can use reference lines, you can go to annotate and use symbolic lines. I prefer model lines because they're a bit easier to see in 3D, and you can always delete them later on. So what I'm going to do first is go here to the Pick Lines tool, and then pick an offset of 20 meters, and offset this to the left by the value of 20, and then offset that to the right by the value of 100. So go like, let's see. There we go. So this is going to be the full length of our bridge. Okay, the next thing that I need to find the center point so I can create a circle around this. So for that, let's go back to Create, go to Model Line, go to one point or from one line to the other, then move to Circle, and then just create one large circle. There we go. Okay, now it's time to sketch out the profile of this bridge. Now, so the profile is basically the shape of the bridge, so that's maybe better seen in this here image. So we have a lane or two in each direction, and then we have a passage for walking across the bridge, and then we have a bit of railing over here, and then in the center we have the whole construction set up. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing now is, let's go back here into Revit, move to one of the elevations. In this case, I'm going to go to the left elevation in order to create that profile. So for the profile, what you want to do is go to create and model it as an extrusion. So what I'm going to be doing is just sketching out the width. So for the width, I'm going to use pick lines just to give me some reference points. And let's use the offset of let's go with 0.4 meters for that center point, so that should be maybe 80 centimeters in total. Then I want each lane to be around 4 meters, so let's go with 4. And then I want the sidewalk or the passage for people for walking to be about 2 meters, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so I'm just going to use these lines as reference, and now I can sketch everything out. So here I want to go from maybe 20 centimeters. Oops, make sure the offset is back to 0. There we go. Around 20 centimeters like that. Then the road should be at bottom level. Then the next level should be maybe for the for people that are walking. Maybe, I don't know, let's go with 14. Like that. There we go. This will do. Now, of course, you want to add some sort of a railing or for the sidewalk. So let's go up by some value like that. There we go. And the same thing here, so let's follow that same height. Go down. This is for, let's make it even 20. There we go, 20 centimeters. And then this should go towards the center, so what I'm going to be doing there is switching to arc. Go kind of like that. And create a shape that looks like this. And then, of course, we can end it maybe like that. Okay, or let's do it horizontally completely. There we go. I think this looks good enough. Okay, so now I'm just going to be using trim and extend to fix this up. Trim and extend here, here, of course, here, and here. And the same thing goes for this side. And also for railing, what you can do is you can add railing later on in Revit, or maybe an easier option is just to add a couple of circular, profiles here to represent that railing that we saw here in the image, the kind of a pipe railing. So I'm just going to kind of mimic that. Of course, I'm not trying to be too precise. You can be later on if you want. I'm just trying to kind of show you the approach that I would use for this. Same thing here. I'm just going to create a simple circle and then move it a bit up like that. There we go. Looks perfect. Okay, now what we want to do is select pretty much everything and then except this line here. So just hold the shift key, remove this line from selection, and just mirror it using the mirror pick access tool. MM is the shortcut. Mirror around the center axis. There we go. Looks perfect. And then we just need to fix this up by trim and extend. Actually, here we have 2 lines. I prefer to keep just one, so let's just do this. There we go. Okay, so we have our perfect profile for our bridge. So let's just hit finish, go to front elevation, and so the profile is here. So I need to extend it a little bit. So let's extend it all the way over here towards the edge. And the same thing goes for the other side. There we go. It will snap in place. And now if you go into 3D, this is what we have. Maybe turn it to shaded to see it a bit better. There we go. I really like the aesthetic of this. I really like the look. And also you can change the material to make it white because the whole bridge is white. So I'm just going to go here to materials and let's change this to, I don't know, gypsum wallboard. There we go. Load that in, hit apply. Okay. Now, of course, we have to switch to realistic to make it white, but I think it's still a bit easier to work with when it's shaded. Just make sure that to apply the material. Okay, moving on, the second part of this bridge, the second most important part, and that's this here over on the top, and that's the whole construction that's holding the bridge in place. So what we're going to be doing for that is moving over here to the left. Or let's go to the left elevation and let's just measure this. So I'm just going to use the measure tool. Okay, so this is 20 centimeters off the kind of the reference level. Now move to the front elevation. So we just want to know where to start off. So I know this is the reference level, so we can go 20 centimeters from there. There we go. So 20 centimeters up. That's that line. Okay, so this is important just to know that this is the line to start from. Okay, so if that's the line to start from, let's move to create again. Let's go to extrusion, find that line, click once, move maybe a bit over here, click again. Okay, I'm using lines and I just want to switch to spline. There we go. Oops, let's go back. Let's try that again. Okay, there we go. So we want to model this as a spline. So you can go with something that looks like, I don't know, that looks like that. Let's go to modify, open that image up. There we go. Okay, it's close enough. You get the point. So I'm just going to hit the tab key. Let's select it, hit the tab key. Oops. There we go. Just to move this a little bit around. You can play around with the shape, but that's the general idea. I'm just using the arrow keys to move it a bit further back. But yeah, that's the point of this whole bridge shape. Okay, so once we have that back spline, the next thing that I'm going to be doing is just going here with an arc. And let's, oops, that might be a bit too far off. Yeah, that's much better. Maybe go to this line here. Kind of like that, trying to follow that shape. There we go. And then let's add just another line like that. There we go, looks perfect. Okay, so we just want to use trim and extend here. Now to trim this. There we go, looks perfect. And then let's add that simple opening that we have here, the circular opening. Kind of like that. There we go. And yeah, we need to kind of finish it off here, and it kind of has this angled chop, so let's angle it like that. Go back to trim and extend and trim it back like that. Okay, so this looks decent enough. Of course, play around with it. You can insert the image to make sure that it's completely accurate. I'm just trying to kind of show you what approach I would use to get the general shape, and then you can move on from there. Okay, so once we have this, it's time to add all of the cables that are connecting this bridge. So for creating the tables, the best option that I found would be to first, let's simulate where the cable would go. So I do that with the model line, go from here, from the farthest one, maybe go up to here. There we go. Okay, so now I'm just going to go to Revolve, place the access line here on this line, just like that, go to boundary line, and then this whole thing has sort of a holder in place, which looks, I don't know, kind of like this. Let's try to mimic that shape of these holders, so it's kind of angled towards the inside. And then I'm just going to simulate a cable here. So I'm just measuring the distance, and then I'm going to go all the way to the top, just like that, go up to the structure of the bridge, connect it like that, and then go down. There we go. Get rid of this line, use trim and extend. There we go. We can maybe expand this a little bit. There we go. Looks perfect. And I'm just going to make sure that this line is straight. Okay, if you're having trouble with doing it like that, let's go back. There we go. The second best option would be to just first select it, disconnect it, make sure it's perpendicular, and then trim and extend. Okay, there we go. So once we have all of this in place, we can just hit finish, and there we go. We have our Revolve. Looks pretty good. Let's go into 3D just to see if we have the proportions right. And I think it's fairly decent. Yeah, maybe go into Edit Revolve and extend this a little bit. Yeah, maybe go like that. Okay, it looks much better. And now we can get rid of this model line, just hit delete, go back into front elevation. And here we want to attach it to the ground, so for that let's go to extrusion and let's create a simple extrusion like this. Maybe adjust this line a bit, like that, hit finish. And let's set it up to something a bit smaller. So let's go with 0.05, and then this should be, now this is meters, so keep that in mind. That's why the numbers are so small. There we go. We can join the geometry. Oops. No, that's not what I wanted. Let's try again. Yeah, so this and this. Okay, that's a bit too wide. Okay, still it didn't fix it, so let's try that again. 0.5, and then here minus 0.5, hit apply. There we go, now it's perfect. And it's connected. There we go. So let's see the bridge. Okay, the bridge, the thickness, we didn't set that up, so let's just add minus 0.25 here in the beginning, and it's thick enough. Okay, so this, as you can see, it's going up to the kind of the top of the bridge, but of course we have to have a lot of these. So what I'm going to do is select this, select the bottom part, and then what you want to do is go back to front elevation and go into an array. So for that array, you want to move it from here all the way to perhaps here, and then in between, let's go with 10. Oops. So if it didn't apply 10, just go here, select one of these, go to the dimension or the array, type in 10. There we go. Now, of course, you can do more. It's going to be quicker to do less, so that's why I'm doing less for this presentation. Now, I'm just going to select all of these individual ones, go to ungroup, and then for each of them, you can just resize them using this simple arrow on top. So you can just resize it like that. There we go. A couple of more. And then, okay, let's ungroup this one as well. Now we can select all of these, holding the control key to add multiple to selection. And then we can add that same material. There we go. And also we can use join geometry to join all of these up. So it's going to make it look even better. So just using, okay, maybe I should have used the multiple join. That's okay. So there we go. Looks perfect. Let's go into 3D. Yeah, so our bridge is taking shape, especially if we change this to realistic. Yeah, there we go. I think it looks really cool, especially with the whole setup like that. Okay, the material seems to not have been applied here. Okay, now it is. There we go. Looks perfect. Now, when it comes to adding the rest of these, so we have the cable that goes from here up to the bridge. Now that's a bit more complicated because that cable is at an angle. So what you want to do for that particular setup is go to the reference level, and then here in the reference level, or let's go first to the front elevation. Yeah. So first, what you want to do is go to create, go to reference plane, and then mark the top part where you want the cables to attach. Now I'm just going to place it somewhere like over there. Okay, so once we have that, we can go back into reference level. We have that kind of reference in space, and then we can go to create, again go to reference plane, and go from that center point all the way to the edge over here, kind of like that. There we go. Okay, so once we have this in place, we have to name it. So let's name it reference plane number 1. And once we have that, let's move back into front elevation, and now we can model that particular shape. So for that, let's go to create, extrusion, and set work plane to work plane number 1. Click OK, and now we can start modeling. So I want to move a little bit away from the edge so it doesn't get chopped off with that void that we're going to be making in just a bit later, and then we can start creating this shape. So that should be somewhere. Okay, first we have to switch to front to left just to see the height. Yeah, so we want to place it here, so let's just measure. So that's 14 centimeters off the ground. There we go. Okay, go back to front. Let's see where the ground plane is. It's over here. Yeah, so it's 14 centimeters from there, so that's this one over here. There we go. It's a bit hard to navigate with all of these heights, but that's okay. And then what you want to do is you want to go from there all the way to the top. So we have just one line like that to just represent the whole trajectory. Maybe move it a bit closer here. Oops, there we go. Now what you want to do is go like that and just kind of try to simulate that shape that we're trying to create. Perhaps use an arc. I think that will look nice. Yeah, maybe like that. Now follow that line, make it perpendicular. Go like that. There we go. Perfect. Maybe this should be a bit up. Let's see, does that work? Okay, yes it does. Perfect. Okay, so once we have that in check, now we can finish that. Oops. Make sure to trim and extend this here. There we go. Hit finish. And then for thickness, we can go with -50. Let's try 0.15. And then this should be -0.15. Apply. And then once we go into 3D, yeah, that looks pretty decent. Okay, so once we have this in place, maybe make it a bit thicker. Let's go with 0.2 with -0.2. There we go. Okay, so now let's add that cable adjustment. So let's go back into front elevation. Go to create, go to revolve, and then also make sure that you're working on reference plane number 1. Click OK. And now for the access line, you want to go here from the middle all the way up here. There we go. Then for the boundary line, again, you want to go like this, go down a little bit, come here at an angle, and then that's going to be it. So you go all the way up, go perpendicular towards towards this access line, and then go all the way down. Perfect. Hit finish. There we go. We can hold the control key, select this element as well, and then just adjust it to gypsum wallboard just to make it white. Of course, feel free to change the material. Okay, this is a bit too thick, so let's go back, select it, go into edit revolve, make it a tiny bit smaller, hit finish. Perfect. Okay, so the rail bridge has 3 of these. Now, of course, just make sure to make 3 for your bridge, just in order to save time, because this is over 20 minutes long. I'm just doing 1. Hold the control key, select this one, go into reference level, and then it's just a simple matter of using the mirror with pick axis, find the center line, mirror to the other side, and now when we go into 3D, it looks like this. So it's a perfect bridge. Of course, you can add more complexity, more details, for example, to make the whole this part of the bridge a bit more realistic. What you can always do is go to create, go to void forms, void sweep, go with pick a path, pick this path, hit finish. Now what you want to do is go back here, go into edit profile, and then here what I like to do at the edges is gonna try to create something like this, like sort of a chamfer edge. And then I go to the other side. Yeah, kind of like this. So just make sure to find the vertical line of the other side. Then go here to the... Make sure to connect these, just so you have sort of a midpoint. You select this line, you go with mirror draw axis, you find the midpoint, you pull straight down. There we go. Looks perfect. Then we attach this to this over here, maybe extend it a little bit, and again just trim and extend to fix this up. So basically this is a sweep profile, a sweep profile that's going to be chamfering this edge just to make it look a bit closer to the real thing. So once we finish this, there we go, and as you can see, it looks like the real thing. So there we go, it's a bit more accurate. So you can play around with settings like that, of course, add that ball at the bottom, things like that. And of course, one more void that's really important is the one that's gonna getting rid of this edge over here to make it easier to rotate. So that's for that, just go into reference level, go to create, void forms, void extrusion, pick lines, pick this line. Then you create something that simply looks
like this. Hit the escape key a couple of times. Split element, you split it here, hit the escape key a couple of times, and then you just trim and extend like that. Select the shape, mirror it using the pick access line. There we go. Hit finish. Go into 3D. Let's select that void. There we go. And now we can extend it both up and down. And now we have that kind of chamfered edge, the bridge that we wanted to have, or the kind of curved edge of the bridge. Let's select the circle, hit the delete key, and there we go, we have our bridge. Now, of course, as I said, feel free to add more detail. Now what I'm going to be doing is just saving this on my desktop. So let's call this there we go, and now we can start a new project. And then let's use the architectural template, click OK. And then when I load this into our project, so let's load it into the project, place it here, it's going to have that center point over here somewhere. So the cool thing about that is then you can use that center point to pivot the bridge. So we can place the center of rotation here at that line, and then you can kind of simulate the rotation of the bridge, and it's always going to rotate around that point where the actual bridge rotates. But as you can see, it does look pretty cool, and of course, as you add more detail, it's going to add a lot more complexity. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this tutorial. Thank you for sticking through. I know it was a bit longer. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. If you want to check out some of my beginner, intermediate, or advanced courses, check out my website. The first link is in the description. And also, if you want to download this project file, check out my Patreon. That's going to be the second link in the description. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.